All right, so good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining this week's Weekly Wave. We do have a few updates that differ from last week, but the rest of today's meeting is going to be kind of repeating of information that we've covered over the last 3 weeks. So we'll go ahead and get right into the updates. So first off, earlier this morning, an email went out to about 41 different district superintendents about the lack of us having the school year 2020-2021 student enrollments. Obviously, if we don't have the 2020-2021 enrollments, that'll cause issues for a number of different types of situations. For example, Ed Plan, if we don't have your updated 2021 enrollments, you might see some issues with students appearing in Ed Plan as you would expect, or as your special education directors would expect. This is also going to cause issues with the direct certification list of students that are showing on that report in the WAVE. So if you are having issues with any of the things that I've just mentioned, direct certification, Ed Plan, you just don't see any students in, say, My Data, then please reach out to either us or your student information system vendor. Your vendor can double check your student information system's settings to make sure that everything is set up so that we can get 2020-21 enrollments. We've heard of some situations of the student information system is on the 2021 school year, but the data that's being sent to the state was still pointed to the 1920 school year. So it might be some little things there that you just need to adjust. So for our second update, direct certification. So we have had some questions about the list of students that are showing up in that listing. Now, right now, the listing of students is from July 2020. And so if you do have current year 2021 enrollments, you should be seeing an appropriate amount of students matched, and you should be good to go. If you have the issue I was speaking to earlier, where we don't have 2020-2021 enrollments, then in the direct certification report right now, you'll most likely see the 1920 school year list of matches. That is because when we request for student enrollments, we're still getting last year's data. So that's what we're matching against. So again, once you get your 2020-2021 enrollments into the WAVE, you should see any strange matches that you're seeing in that report kind of pop off and disappear. So for our third update is student testing numbers. We had a few districts reach out to us explaining that they did not see any new STN numbers for students that have transferred in or are starting at their school district for the first time, or in Oklahoma for the first time. We did have an issue with that, but we did get that corrected yesterday afternoon. So at this time, you should see any outstanding STN numbers that we were able to auto match and send down to your student information system. Now, if you still have students that we couldn't automatically match for, if they're still not, they don't have a student testing number in your student information system, then they are most likely in the STN wizard. And so going on to our reminders, double check your STN wizard, because these are the students that we couldn't automatically assign an STN, like I said. A flowchart is available on the SDU website under our student information system documents and guides. And just to make it very clear, if your student does not have an STN number, they will not appear on reports. So if you are not seeing a student with a testing number and they are not in the STN wizard, please reach out to us to make sure that there's not something else going on. We have means to send the STN back down to your student information system again if for some reason it didn't get to your student information system. And just another reminder that it's very important that you are not assigning STNs to new students that transfer into your district if you know they are coming from another Oklahoma public school. If, say, they're in the STN wizard and none of the list of STNs that you could potentially match to match the STN that may be on transfer records from another school district, please reach out to us. We can search our records and we can pinpoint that historical STN for you so that your student can continue on keeping the STN that they've had in the past. Now, obviously, there may be some situations that warrant, an STN change. Say if there's some sort of court order or something like that. So we're not saying that we cannot assign a new STN to new students that are transferring in, but generally speaking, we are not expecting for you to do that. So for any registrars that are out there that are new to assigning STNs, just make sure that that point is being mentioned to them as they're looking through the STN wizard. Another reminder that we spoke on last week is to review your ownership conflicts. In order to do that, you'll most likely need to contact the other district to see where the student is ultimately going to be served at, where they'll be getting their instruction. And just like STNs, if there is a conflict, the student will not appear on the WAVE state certification reports. And another reminder, this is going to be potentially problematic for some school districts at the end of the year, is to make sure that you're updating your Title I statuses for both your schools and your students. Each school should have a targeted school-wide or not applicable status applied to each and every one of your sites. And each student in your school sites should have a yes or a no status. And so to break it down a little bit, for any school that is designated as being targeted, that school site status should say targeted. And for each student that is served and is eligible for Title I services, those students should have a Title I status of yes. And for the students that are not receiving Title I services, those Title I statuses should be no. And for the Title I Part A, Title V Part B report, only the students that are marked as yes will be counted in the schools that are listed as targeted. Same thing for school-wide. Again, if your school is school-wide, that school should say school-wide. And every student in that school should have a Title I status of yes. Every student in a school-wide school will be counted for the Title I-A, Title V Part B report. And not applicable, then you'll mark your school as not applicable. And every student should have a Title I status of no. We do have an infographic or a flow chart available for you guys on the Student Information System documents and guides for ease of use. You can definitely print this out, share it with whoever you need to. And just as a reminder, we're seeing an increase in these validation errors is if you do have the grade level does not align for site error, make sure that you're checking on your school of membership status. If the site that we're getting the enrollment record does not match the school of membership, we will always take the school of membership status. And that's what we're validating against. So to give you an example, if you have a student that's in the first grade and an enrollment record comes to the WAVE from a site that serves kindergarten through 5th grade, but the school of membership that we're getting says that that site only serves pre-K and kindergarten, you'll get an error for that particular student. And in the second example here, same student, first grade, enrollment record comes from a site that serves pre-K and kindergarten, but the school of membership is accredited to serve kindergarten through 5th grade. This student will pass through validations because the school of membership, which tells us that that site is the site that will get funding for that student, is accredited to serve the grade level that they are enrolled in. So they will pass validations. And you will see that kind of situation happen in the FQSR and ASR. So rather than displaying a student in a site that they are not accredited for, we will be displaying a student in the school of membership that we're getting from your student information system. And that is it for updates for this week. Again, we say this every week. We do have the Microsoft Teams channel that we can use to collaborate with districts. It's a really fast way for us to be in contact with each other. You can send us an IM if you have a quick question that might not warrant an email. If you just need to remind yourself of something we might have said during one of these calls, or you just need to be sent a link of some guidance or something of the sort, you can just send us a quick message and we can get back to you, usually a little bit quicker than we can through emails. Again, if you do have any questions that aren't being addressed in the chat or just in general, please send us an email. Our email address is student.info@sde.ok.gov. And all of the documents and guides that I mentioned throughout this first portion of the call is available on the SDE website under documents and guidance. And just to give you guys a reminder of how to get to that if you happen to lose the link. Here, let me share my screen one more time. All right, so from the SDE website, under the resources tab, third one from the bottom, student information, and then go to documents and guidance. Here we have all of the past weekly wave calls. Here we have any of the requirement documents that we've mentioned. And here we have all of the flow charts that were made throughout the last couple of months here. And just as a reminder, anything new that we're updating or adding to this website will always have the red text that says new at the very end. And all of this information can be printed. Videos can't, but any of the PDFs that we have here are able to be printed. So, and if you need that Title I guidance here, you can just click this link. Oh, we need to fix that link. So let's do the attendance and enrollment guidance here. Actually, let's do the enrollment and attendance guidance FAQ questions and answers that we put out. If you had any questions about the attendance and enrollment guidance that we put out that explained what to do in X situation, if you had students doing distance learning or virtual learning, we took all of the questions that we got from that training that we did, and we put them into an FAQ type of document. And a lot of questions that we have been getting through email have been answered here. So if you did need to send a question to, say, a registrar or anything like that to help them out with enrolling any students, please pass this FAQ document along. We answer a lot of different topics, including what to do with certain courses, as well as exits and enrollments and calendars and transfers and all sorts. So if you do have any other questions that aren't being answered here, please make sure that you are reaching out to us. Just as a blanket answer to some questions that we've been getting recently, if you do have a student that is starting off the school year and you know that they're being quarantined for COVID, the guidance that we've been putting out is that if that student is doing distance learning, then you will continue to mark that student. And let me show you guys this flow chart here. If they are doing distance learning at the beginning of the year and they have COVID-19, you know, they're quarantined, then you'll make sure that if they meet the attendance requirements for that particular day, that you're using the DVA or DVAP attendance code in your student information system. If they're not meeting requirements, then obviously you'll use different attendance code depending on what your student information system vendor has made available to you. If they are not doing distance learning, they have COVID-19, and they are choosing not to do distance learning, and they are still going to a brick and mortar school, then you'll follow your district's either attendance or not attendance, but absence or presence procedures. You won't use DVA attendance codes because they are not doing distance learning. So that wasn't potentially specifically addressed in the FAQs. It is mentioned in the guidance. So again, if you do have any other questions, please make sure that you're reaching out to us. We'll make sure if there's something that we have been asked repeatedly, that we'll update the enrollment FAQ questions. So I'll go ahead and end the recording here. Thank you guys for joining here. And we'll go ahead and start answering the questions in the chat.